Yeah, I did this during my lunch break today, so let's just get into it. My name is Nathan Smith. You can find me on Twitter at Nogs. I'm on GitHub at NogsMPLS, and I'm going to talk about this newfangled JavaScript formatter called Prettier. It came out literally, I think, 8 days ago, so this is pretty new, by a guy named James Long. And basically what it is it's basically like Prettier, but on steroids. So if any of you have ever copied a long JSON string or a long, string of JavaScript and then copy pasted it into your editor, then did Prettier. I think on WebStorm it's like Command-Alt-L or something, Command-Shift-L. And then it just sort of formats it all so it's sort of indented nice and whatnot. It's kind of like that, but automated and goes a next level deeper. So what does that mean? Well, I just talked about it. Basically, it automatically morphs your code to fit a specific style. Now, I will note that Prettier is an opinionated style formatter. That means there is very limited configuration, and so for the time being, you're going to be at the whims of James Long himself as he decided what style he likes most. So why do you want this? Well, I think having this removes a layer of complexity from the developer so that we're no longer arguing about styles, whether you need semicolons or trailing commas or whatever. This fixes all of that for you. It also, I am a big proponent of readability of code over necessarily performance of code. I think as developers we need to understand what's there and we need to be able to grok it very quickly in order to do our jobs effectively. And this sort of automates that readability task in some ways. And yeah, like I said, you no longer have to argue about code style. So that's all a bunch of words that I just said, but let me show you. Let me see if I can. See, I used to be I was a Windows dev for a long time. What's the command for full screen in Mac? Command L? F? Whoops. That's fine. Nope. Wait, it's this guy, isn't it? There we go. And then I do know this one. There we go. Is that big enough for people? So actually, is that? Now let's do that. All right, so on the left we have our original JavaScript. This is what we just wrote in our editor. And on the right is the automatically formatted JavaScript that Prettier is outputting and changing your file with. And what Prettier really cares about and what makes it different than just Prettier is that it actually takes into account the line length. That's what really makes this different. So as you can see here on the left side, I have long array. And it's just a long array, but on the right side, it morphs it into an array that is styled in such a way that it goes down vertically, so it's easier to read. Now, that is done by defining what you want your line width to be. So so this is sort of an editor that James Long made to sort of demonstrate Prettier. So if I made this longer, you see it doesn't format that anymore. And so that's really what changes how things are styled or not. That's the primary difference compared to Prettier. So I had it at 79 here. So you can see a short ternary is the second example there, and it just keeps it the same. But a longer ternary that on the left sort of falls off the side now is readable on the right by using indents and returns in specific ways. And I have a few more examples here, how it handles objects inside of arrays, and there are some limited configuration options. So if you like single quotes instead of double quotes, you can do that. If you like trailing commas so that your diffs on GitHub are a little bit better, you can do trailing commas. You can see there in the array, the Apple has it. Bracket spacing changes the way around objects. You can see down there in column and in the array down there on the right hand there. So very limited configuration as far as the output. But another thing that I thought was really neat that it does is if I scroll down here and you look there at the left, this is actually an example that he uses on in the README. So the left-hand side there, foo, and then an object, num3, and then 1, 2 as parameters. All three of those examples on the left would probably pass many linters, many lint configurations, but it's not really readable. There's nothing wrong with what's on the left. It's all valid, but this will now allow you to sort of automate that process of refactoring and changing stuff so that it all looks nice and neat how it does on the right. This means that there's a large amount of your ESLint configuration that you will be able to pretty much delete. So it's not a just massive configuration file that's impossible to really understand at first glance. And you can instead use ESLint as a way to actually catch potential errors on the fly as opposed to enforcing your style. So I think that's really important to remove as much complexity from the developer so you can code however you like. If you want to code and have stuff go way off the screen or you have a massive screen and it's not an issue for you, great, that's fine. But then you can run Prettier, which, by the way, has plugins for Atom, Microsoft Studio Code, and Sublime, and a few other, I think another editor or two. And it will automatically style it for you to push up. I think this could be really valuable if you could somehow get this in a Git hook or pre-merge, or even pre-pull request, so that no matter any time you do a code review, everything is already styled to a specific way. So there's no more arguments about, oh, you should have a semicolon there, or you should use tabs or spaces, which, by the way, you can automatically change your print width of your tabs or spaces. So no more arguing about that, which would be pretty sweet. It just does it for you. Just do it right from the beginning. No, man, automate all the things. Anyways, that's Prettier. I think it's pretty cool, but it's also, I will say, very, very new. It's like a week and a day old. There are still stuff that they're figuring out. You are still beholden to James Long's style currently. But I think it's something to keep an eye on. And yeah, try it out, run it on your code, see what it changes, see if it makes it more readable or not. Yeah.
This URL is pretty crazy, but is this
Yes.
served up somewhere? Like,
Yeah, so you can go to this URL specifically to go bit.ly/JSMN-Prettier. Also, it is linked directly from the GitHub page itself. So this, I changed the example, but basically what's kind of neat about this is that this code is the code that is running this site. So this is the exact code that he wrote, and then that's the Prettier version, and then that runs the editor. Like, that is the editor. You can see print width, tab width, single quote, all that. So that's kind of neat.
Have you used it in concert with other tools like ESLint or, say, Standard?
Not yet, but I know a few people have been talking about it. I know Kent C. Dodds made a Prettier-ESLint sort of package. Now, I haven't actually looked at it, but I know he made one. So I know there are people out there looking at how they can work together in really, succinct ways. Yes?
Does it interface with editor config?
Yeah, so like I said, so Atom, they have a plugin for Atom for Microsoft Studio Code, right? The new MS Code.
Config is a dot file that sits.
Oh, as far as a dot file, no, they do not have a dot file. So that's that's one of the entire points of this, is so that there is no more dot file. There is no configuration. It just does it automatically for you. You just run this command on your code, and everything is styled a specific way. That's one of the reasons why it's so opinionated, because there isn't very much configuration. The configuration that you do is you send in parameters to a function. There is no actual config dot file. They wanted to get away from that.
There's not a config.file, but you can set certain settings like your line width.
Yeah, so all the settings in this editor that you see at the top here, print width, tab width, single quote, trailing comma, and bracket spacing, those are the configurable options for Prettier currently. And those are done through, like, you send in a parameter when you run the function through your code.
So just to follow up on that, how do we distribute that to a team, the configuration for a team?
So, No, so there is no editor config.
But that's what how
Right.
would you enforce that?
Right. So yes. So that's the whole point. Is you wouldn't need to enforce it if you had some sort of Git hook or something that automated it. Now, I think that's probably what Kent C. Dodds is doing with that Prettier ESLint. He's creating an ESLint configuration that matches the Prettier output. So there is a little bit there for support. But ideally, there's a whole massive part of ESLint and JSHint that revolves just around styling and not necessarily for catching bugs, although there are stuff that ESLint is still valuable. I'm not saying get rid of it. But there's a whole styling aspect to ESLint and JSHint and all these things that you no longer have to configure because this will automatically do it for you. And it will output it correctly each time. The way it does this is very similar to the way many minifiers, Ugliify, or even Babel converts from ES5 to ES6. What it's doing is it's taking your JavaScript, morphing it into an abstract syntax tree, so an AST, so that it can actually parse the physical code itself and determine what needs to be changed and what does not need to be changed. And then it outputs into a file. So that's how it's working. It's Wraps, I think Recast is the AST that it's using. Cool. Prettier. Go check it out.